Author and columnist for Newsday, Dan Raviv. Hi, Dan. Thanks again for being with us. First, let me get your take on the role you think these suburban voters could play. I mean, is there a silent majority, again, especially, given how they may or may have not been affected, by protests and rioting over the course of 2020?
Well, in the suburbs, they largely feel insulated from that kind of thing. But President Trump has tried to tell suburban residents that the trouble from the cities could spread to you under Joe Biden. If Biden gets elected, then it's going to encourage radicals. That's what Trump is saying. Of course, Democrats are saying it's all nonsense. It is a battle for the suburbs, no question. That's because, in general, the cities in America, they go for Democrats. More liberals are found in the cities. Rural areas, farmers, people out there where President Trump's been having his big rallies in recent weeks, they tend to be conservative. So in between are the suburbs. So I agree with John. There is a battle for the suburbs. And this year, we don't know whether to trust the opinion polls. So we're really wondering, say, 24 hours from now, are we going to have a result of the election here in this country?
Right. You talked about how even the suburbanites that were kind of isolated from the violence of the riots and the protests, he still was able to make them a bit scared, especially when he featured, the couple in St. Louis that had to defend their suburban home with their guns, kind of letting people know all over America, this could be you. And yeah, go ahead.
That's an interesting example. It's true, but I've heard again the argument or the reactions from both sides. There are people who are naturally liberals. They didn't like Trump. They still don't like Trump. And they come up with arguments against everything he has said, as though he has stirred up a lot of divisions in America. And therefore, you get phenomena such as gun sales being very high at American gun merchants this past month. People are fearing violence. Again, the Democrats in general blame President Trump for that, while Trump and his supporters, they blame the Democrats. By the way, they always say that Joe Biden, being 77 years old, might not survive a term in office, and therefore Kamala Harris, a senator considered very liberal, might end up as president. So Republicans are trying to make people scared of that. Liberals say that's nonsense. In fact, they like her.
Right. You bring up the issue of the record gun sales we've seen over the last year in the U.S., and we've also seen the rise of these so-called citizen militia, a number of whom are applauded by the president himself. Again, what makes, I guess, one person cringe and another very proud of those citizen militia? And I mean, what role could they play? What presence could they have? Do you think they're fringe or are they mainstream?
Well, the so-called citizens militia, people who insist on owning guns and then showing up at public events in states where you're allowed to actually go with your rifle, they tend to be conservative. And so it looks like they support President Trump. And apparently Trump's attitude is he doesn't want to turn them off. He doesn't want to lose a single voter. Keep in mind, 4 years ago, Trump got fewer votes than Hillary Clinton. But the Trump campaign managed to win the key states, the ones we're really watching today, like Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania. But he won by small margins. And so Trump didn't want to lose any votes. He didn't say no to anyone who supports him. Again, liberals say that's absolutely awful. We just have these two different perspectives. I mean, it's amazing. Trump supporters saying that the Democrats are dangerous. That's
right.
What's motivating Trump supporters to vote. And the Democrats give us the opposite view of everything going on.
So you see real polarization, but somewhere in the middle, there are those voters that can kind of change their minds. Because we really did see at one point early in the year, Trump turning this into, with me, you're safe, because this is about law and order versus chaos.
It is a big issue for him, but we haven't yet said COVID-19. The coronavirus is the big issue, especially for Democrats, who apparently believe that Trump has done a terrible job. Therefore, America has lost more than 210,000 Americans who've died of COVID. President Trump says he's done a great job. It would have been far worse under somebody else. Again, these different perspectives. And you know that at the Trump rallies, they don't care that much about COVID. President Trump mocks the issue, says it'll go away soon. And of course, his supporters are showing up usually without those protective face masks, whereas Joe Biden himself is always showing up with a mask.
You beat me to the COVID question, Dan. Okay, we're actually going to wrap it up there. Thanks so much for taking the time. We really appreciate it.